Hello there, football fans. Welcome to the Mercurial Trequartistas Gamecast, your weekly dose of Premier League passion, predictions, and proper football talk. By way of introduction, I'm Datan, and joining me is the man who finds talent like Klopp finds fullbacks early, confidently, and with unnerving accuracy. Mark, how are we feeling?
And like Klopp, I find my best fullbacks in Hull.
What a signing that guy was. Now, what's on the menu today? We have a slightly rejigged format this week due to the international break, so we will start with a roundup of last week's Premier League action, move on to football talking points of this week, and we will finish with our soon-to-be famous obscure facts section. It's the dark horse of our podcast and is already getting whispers of Ballon d'Or potential. So let's move on to section one. As I mentioned, with the international break underway, we will take a step back from our usually fantasy football coverage. Instead, we will focus on the football itself, what happened during game week 11 last weekend. So if we start with Saturday, the 8th of November, we have Tottenham 2, Man United 2, Everton 2, Fulham nil, West Ham 3, Burnley 2, Sunderland 2, Arsenal 2, Chelsea 3, Wolves nil. And on Sunday, the 9th of November, we had Aston Villa 4, Bournemouth nil, Brentford 3, Newcastle 1, Crystal Palace nil, Brighton nil, Nottingham Forest 3, Leeds United 1, and Manchester City 3, Liverpool nil. Does anything stand out there from last weekend, Mark?
Yeah, well, the Tottenham Man United game had a bit of a mad end to it. Three late goals, uh, the scoreline twisting and turning. Both fans equally unhappy and happy throughout the flow of the match. Villa started finding the scoring boots and let rip with not Birmingham, Bournemouth. They let rip with Bournemouth and banged quite a few past them. And the Liverpool City match, full of controversy, all kinds going on, still being talked about deep into the international week. We'll still be hearing a few bits from that because I think a complaint has gone into PGML regarding the disallowed goal. So more to come from that one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, for me, the two highlights were Aston Villa versus Bournemouth. Villa were ruthless at home. They put Bournemouth to the sword. And against Liverpool, Jeremy Doku was outstanding. Everyone's been talking about it, but that was some performance. But it was a bit worrying that just how disjointed Liverpool looked on the day. And I think at this point, Arteta really can feel Pep breathing down his neck. And he will be under pressure as well, further to the 2-2 draw against Sunderland, which was also a bit of a shock, I might add.
The shadow of Pep getting bigger and bigger.
That to me is scary in football. It's a bit like Fergie back in the day that, once Fergie would sort of get going, if there was a team leading the Premier League at Christmas or even around Jan or Feb time, they would start feeling nervous once Fergie's team got going. So
Yeah, business end of the season. Yep, get Christmas out of the way. Get straight to work.
we now move on to segment two. So that's footballing hot topics. So there's a lot to discuss here today. Mark, if we can start with story number one. So there's a great deal of uncertainty around football management at the moment. So this is despite Forest, West Ham, and Wolves changing coaches recently. There's a lot of rumours floating around. Can we start with Daniel Farker at Leeds, please?
Yeah, I mean, his situation's got very dangerous very fast. Um, Newspapers reporting that he has 4 games to save the job. And you look at the 4 games coming up, it's Villa, who have just started banging in the goals, Man City, Chelsea, and Liverpool. So if you're gonna try and save your job over them 4 games, that's gonna be a bit of a task. So yeah, I think if those rumours are true, and he has got four, could be a bit of a tough ask on this one.
Hmm. Um, the way you describe it, do you think Tom Cruise is thinking about this story as the next script for the upcoming Mission Impossible film? Or
I mean, it's got to be up there. I've no idea what number they're up to now. Is it 13 or 14?
I've just lost count entirely.
17?
So, but I agree with you. I think Farker is the odds-on favourite to be the next manager to be sacked after Leeds' poor run. I think they've had 4 defeats in 5 matches, and they are just hovering above the relegation zone. The issue lies in defence, certainly from what I've seen of them. They've lost, well, last weekend they lost to Forest, it was 3-1. And I think recently they also lost to Brighton 3-0. Um, what can I say? That we were talking about one individual quite recently, and you mentioned to me that he's been the manager of Leeds in the past, but I can feel it in my bones that Big Sam is being readied for Leeds. He's managed some pretty big clubs in his time, and this is something Leeds United definitely are, and I think he would be a good fit for them. My gut feeling is that he was approached about the Wolves job and he turned it down. I think Leeds are a much bigger club than Wolves, and he may well go for it if approached. Thoughts?
I mean, you're talking about Sam Allardyce, aren't you? This is the Tatan campaign to get Sam Allardyce back in the Premier League. I'm not sure if it will be Leeds. I think the history at Leeds, he was there for 4 games, brought in after retirement to save them from relegation. It
Mm.
didn't happen. I think maybe 1 point out of the 4 games potentially. I can't remember exactly, but I
Mhm.
don't know. I guess it depends. Is he still sore after only being there 4 games? How did it end?
It's a bit like I think he might want to wait a bit longer because if he waits until, say, after Christmas or January or February, there's essentially less work for him to do, and he can sort of drive his price up for the short-term contract, which he will be employed under. He will have to work over the winter, so, I think he may well be on a beach somewhere. We spoke about this recently. So he's, quite happy in slightly warmer climes. And so he may wait a bit longer, but I think at some point he will be back. And
Okay, so wind down the season, get them to 4 games left, and go in again.
well, perhaps not that extreme, but if there's say there's about 12 or 13 games left, and the club feels that there's a decent chance of staying up. But anyway, let's see
I'm
what
not. I
happens.
mean, I'm not sure where Leeds are at with the whole sort of changing the manager now. I mean, at the beginning of the season, I think they would have been very aware that they're going to be in for a fight to stay in the league. Trying to change your manager now feels like the wrong time. Adds to the instability. I think you're making the job harder.
Hmm.
And I think if the rumours are out there or being put out there that he's got 4 games, you're making it a much more difficult task than it needs to be.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah,
it's an awkward situation for Daniel Farker, I think.
yeah. I mean, he's an absolute gent. The way he carries himself, and let's see what happens. But the teams he has to face. What? Sorry, that his team has to face. In the next few weeks, the teams are pretty. This would be tough for like any team. Even a City or a Liverpool or like an Arsenal, they would find such a run difficult, and they would approach it with caution. So. Anyway, let's move on to Eddie Howe at Newcastle. So he's under a bit of pressure at the moment. So they haven't been performing, and expectations are sky high. I mean, after last season's brilliance, so they won the League Cup, and they got into the Champions League places. I mean, my feeling is that anything beyond sort of not getting into the Champions League places again, it might be seen as a step backwards for the club. But do you have any thoughts on Eddie?
I think he's a good manager. I think he's a potential future England manager, and it wouldn't surprise me if Tuchel's short contract is with an eye on getting Howe in later. Uh, the league's that congested at the moment. 2 or 3 wins together, they can shoot you right up. Newcastle are going to be contending for top 4. They're missing out on Isak. They signed Wissa. He's not been able to play for injury. They've had other injuries. I think it's just one of them where, it's been a bit of a stop start season, plenty of time to put it right. So
Mhm.
I don't see why he should be under too much pressure at the moment.
Hmm. And I think, we were talking about this recently, that the club have been patient with him. So they have been. And I think most clubs understand now that the days of sacking Jose and immediately appointing Carlo Ancelotti, those days are over and it's due to like
Mm,
PSR. They need to cut their coat according to their cloth. And I'm certain that he will turn this around and the board will be patient with him.
yeah. They did offer him a contract extension as well. And I think his last contract was going up to 2028. The other one that came after that We don't know what the end date is on that contract,
Mm.
but there isn't meant to be a release clause in there either. So if you're signing a manager up and you're looking at 2029, 2030, that shows how highly they were thinking of him at the time of offering the extension. So yeah, bit of a blip for the start of this season. I don't see there being too many danger signs for Eddie Howe really.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed. If we move on to North London, Thomas Frank is under. I wouldn't say I wouldn't say it's a crisis yet, but there's a bit of pressure that he seems to be under at the moment. So the home form has been disappointing, and they've dropped points against weaker sides. They lost a couple of weeks ago to Chelsea, and their fans booed them off, and they drew last weekend with Man United, where like both coaches, in fairness, faced a lot of criticism. Um, what do you reckon?
I think it's an adjustment period, really. I mean, they've got rid of managers fairly quickly on a high frequency. They're in the Champions League for the first time in years, and the squad is having to adapt to playing those kind of games and then following it up with a Premier League game. Some of them maybe doing it for the first time. There's something not quite right. Some of the things that you sort of seeing with player reactions on the pitch, and that set two at the end where Frank was trying to get the players to go and applaud the fans and all that. That was a bit of a strange reaction.
Mhm.
So things aren't quite perfect. Looking at that, I don't know. Tottenham seems to be doing Tottenham things. It's they've done well, got into the Champions League, and somehow, yeah, whatever's going on behind the scenes seems to be disrupting or upsetting the apple cart, and we're kind of seeing sneak peeks of it. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it must be strange for the players having had to go through so many different managers and playing styles. So yeah, it's awkward, but not unfixable.
But as you say, that's Tottenham doing Tottenham things.
Yeah, and I don't really mean that as sort of like, I don't mean that as an insult, but I mean,
No, no, yeah.
if you
But
look at how things have been run at the club
yes,
for quite a while,
yeah.
there has been a lot of hire and fire, and there's not really been that many settled periods. I think this is the point where you go, fine, we're in the Champions League, we've got a manager, a good manager, back him, let him do his thing with the players, build his team, put it together, and see what a settled period can do.
Mm. I think you're very right. I mean, there's been a very high turnover of coaches there. They are a big club with, a very loyal and passionate fan base. But speaking about the fans, the feeling I get is that they are a bit divided. I mean, I think the shift in style from Angeball, which some people don't rate, but it is very exciting. So the shift from that to Thomas Frank's much more measured approach tactically, I think it's led to admiration, but not affection, from some quarters of the Spurs fans. But it's one to watch. Let's see. I mean, Frank, and again, we mentioned this over the summer that the expectations at Spurs are different to those from Brentford. And so perhaps Frank himself, there's a bit of an adjustment period also for him as well. I have no doubt he will get there. He's a fine coach. He's extremely experienced, and but let's
Yeah.
see,
And,
let's
and
see.
he got there with Brentford with time. So, yeah, I think he's only been there, what, a matter of weeks?
Yeah,
It's not enough, you know.
no, no. But time is the quantity in football that no one is given. We've seen this for so long since our childhoods. It's just non-existent. But let's see, let's see. Very quickly, Arne Slot. Is he under pressure?
I mean, probably, yes, probably. I think if that amount of money is spent and results aren't coming and questions are being asked of tactics and who you're playing where, then yeah, there's going to be a pressure with that. I think winning the league last year earns a grace period, but yeah, I think Liverpool after the international break have got a string of fixtures where a run could be put together. The league is very congested. Any kind of winning streak now is going to shoot any team right up there. So if those winnable fixtures start turning into problems and bad results, then yeah, I think the pressure probably is going to be on.
Hmm. I differ slightly in that I think through the eyes of the world, they will see it as Slot being under pressure. But inside the club, I'm not sure that's the case still at the moment because Liverpool are patient and further to winning the league last year, I suspect he will be given until the end of the season. And as you pointed out very rightly, their upcoming fixtures are imminently winnable, or at least they should get a decent haul of points. Um, so yeah, I think he'll be okay. And a final nano point. Brendan
Nano point.
Rodgers, a nano.
I thought you were going to say Sam Allardyce again then.
Well, not quite. Well, anything to do with like Big Sam is not Nano, so he's
Okay.
not. Yeah, I mean, like he had Little Sam, so he could have been Nano Sam, but the Nano point in connection with managers was about Brendan Rodgers. Do you think there's going to be a Premier League chairman who in the very near future is going to appoint him once more?
Yes.
It will happen. It's inevitable, but
I'm there for it, honestly. Yeah, yes. Brendan
uh,
Rodgers back in the Premier League. The,
okay.
the post-match interviews are brilliant. I love it.
Well,
Win, lose, or draw.
we move on to story number two now. So,
Oh, that was quick.
oh well, no, I mean, I was
No,
just
no,
going to
that's fine.
say
It's fine.
on
It's my fault. I went with a one-word answer on the question, so yeah.
hey, I believe in like being succinct and brevity. So a one-word answer is fine. It's entirely up to you. So story number two. Rob Edwards has just arrived at Wolves from Borough. What do you reckon?
I mean, it was quick. His reign at Middlesbrough, whilst Shards was packed full of good results. Maybe this is the new thing for football, Have a nice unbeaten run at the start of the season, get a job in the next league up. It's I mean it must be difficult for Middlesbrough to take because you know
Yeah,
to sort of have a manager come in
yeah,
and then be turned so quickly. Um, it will give them a few problems for the season because now they do have to find somebody that can continue the run and try and maintain what was the start of a good season.
mm,
Uh, as far as Edwards is concerned, brilliant. Yeah, got a new job in the Premier League. It's a big job. It'll be tough, but he's he's got the experience from Luton. So if he can use that and get the results to grind a run together, then yeah, brilliant
yeah,
for him. But
yeah,
yeah, time in football. It's a rapid turnaround at both ends of the job market now.
yeah. I stand by what I said last week. Edwards isn't a bad coach. I liked his Luton team a few years ago. I don't mean this in a patronising way at all, but they were plucky and they tried really hard, and they got some very good results against some top teams. I think there was a draw with Arsenal, which I mean, I can remember watching that game and just being hugely impressed with them. But at the end of the day, he failed to keep them up. I wish him and Wolves a lot of luck. Lord knows they need it. And you also touched on Steve Gibson, the Middlesbrough chairman. Well, I mean, let's switch over to like Borough for a moment because I mean, as you say, Edwards has come from them, but Steve Gibson has always, to me at least, he's come across as a very decent individual, and I know the way football works, all of us do, but it must be hard. The team are doing well already. They are thinking about possibly coming back to the Premier League if things were going well, and they are back to square one. So that's tough for them. It's tough for their fans. But in
Mhm.
connection with that. Stevie G has been linked quite heavily with that role in the last 48 hours. And funnily
Ooh.
enough, Stevie G has also been linked with a return to Liverpool in a coaching role in the last 48 hours as well. What's going on?
Uh, he's uh, he's got a very good agent. That's a lot of links. Wow, I mean Steve Gerrard. I mean, he was at Liverpool in the coaching role before, wasn't he? Before ending up at Rangers. I'm not sure. Yeah, I mean, maybe Middlesbrough. I'd like to sort of see him sort of take the job at Middlesbrough and maybe get them up. I think if you end up with Steven Gerrard at Liverpool, you may end up in a similar situation as Dalglish with Hodgson. You know, the club, you've got the club legend there, ready, waiting. I don't know. I think that might be a, yeah, I think that would be
Dangerous?
for slots. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Would kind of look like you're getting your backup plan ready.
Yeah. I'm open to being proven wrong on this, but I mean, I think on the point of the presence of Gerard, given who he is, it would be difficult for anyone except for maybe Jurgen Klopp or the likes of, say, Paisley or Shankly, if they were still around and if they were to come back. In terms of stature, um, any coach would find it difficult to sort of operate in the presence of Gerard. Um, I'm open to being proved wrong, but I think had Gerrard stayed at Rangers for a spell of like 7 to 10 years, won a ton of trophies and gained experience, he would have been perhaps a bit more advanced on his route as a coach than where he is now. I mean, he's not a bad manager by any stretch. He's still young, but I think he has a little bit to prove prior to taking up the role at Liverpool. But yeah, let's watch this. I mean, it will be interesting. But if he goes to Middlesbrough, again, so that was the point that we were looking to discuss. If Steve Gibson goes for him, let's see what happens. So, well, there you have it. There's enough opinions there to fill a post-match phone in on TalkSport, and we will keep tabs on how these stories unfold in the weeks ahead. If we now move on to the third segment in today's podcast, so the obscure facts section, as always, we have three obscure facts for you, so let's dive in. First is that the longest FA Cup tie on record, it required 6 matches, which included 5 replays to be concluded, and this was Alvechurch versus Oxford City in November 1971. In total, over 11 hours of football took place across all the replays.
I mean, you would get sick of playing them, wouldn't you? The same opposition, plus the times you possibly played them in the league. Yeah, I mean, it's a throwback to when, there's no penalty shootouts. It had to be replay after replay after replay. You'd get cup congestion, league congestion. Yeah, crazy, crazy stuff. I do
Mm.
remember the last FA Cup final replay as well, because it was Arsenal Sheffield Wednesday, 92, 93.
Mm.
And I think they probably were in the zone where they got sick of each other as well, because they played each other in the League Cup final as well
Hmm.
and had the league fixtures to play. But that seemed strange to me then watching that. You settle down, FA Cup day, watch the final. It's a draw. Yeah, we're all coming back. Following week, do it all again. And even that went to extra time
Mm.
because it was Linnigan that got the winner. So I think that's supposed to be the
Mm.
latest ever winning goal in an FA Cup final.
Now that is obscure. I think that
Allegedly,
that trumps
but I
the
think we
the
need to
facts I
check
put
where the
forward.
goals went in the replays. I mean, obviously there weren't any deciders.
How
So
you remember this, I don't know. I mean, I could remember the replay, but about Andy Linnigan, my word, that's impressive. We move on to the second obscure fact. So, in the early decades of English football, a handful of matches were replayed or declared void after the match ball burst, either got deflated or was damaged to the point of being unplayable. So, prior to the 1950s, match balls were made from hand-stitched panels with a rubber bladder inflated by a pump. They were often heavy and prone to splitting at the seams, or the bladder valve tearing. Refs occasionally carried spares, but in early competitions, there were no rules in connection with the ball being changed, so the ball burst mid-game. Chaos followed. So I just found this quite funny. So
I mean, de depending how the ball bursts as well. I mean, you could end up. I mean, didn't they end up with like strange swellings as well? So maybe the ball sort of bumping along like a rugby ball. I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, that's some power shots to burst one of them in the first place.
yeah, wow.
But
So
if it's gone into a strange wonky shape
mhm.
and it is just bobbling along an incredibly muddy pitch, yeah, that might be one of them where it's like, at what point is this football?
This is on the topic of sort of, really hard shots and sort of warping the ball. So someone like Stuart Pearce or in the modern game, Dom Szoboszlai, who has an incredibly hard shot, they would be candidates to sort of warp a ball. Andy Bremer, the old German left back as well, he used to really strike the ball. Yeah, some hard hitters. Maybe if we could get them all together and just like see what happens, thoughts. So, and the third obscure fact for today. Managers were once sacked via telegram or public announcement in local newspapers. This was roughly in between 1901 and the 1960s. English football management was quite precarious as a trade, so there were no standard contracts of employment, no notice periods, or formal board processes and procedures. Most managers worked, and this is what I unearthed. The words were at the pleasure of the board, which meant that directors could end their employment at any times. But just reading that, in fairness, it sounds very similar to the way clubs boards operate even today. So in many
Yeah.
cases, the first hint of manager that they would get of being sacked would be the arrival of a telegram, a very rude letter, or a headline in that evening's local paper.
I mean, that's imagine if they didn't get the telegram and they turn up to work. That the very next fixture, you're in all kinds of trouble. It's it's a
Mm,
bizarre way of working.
yeah,
I can see why it would suit a club owner. You know,
yeah,
just basically going, well, there's no end date. It's a rolling contract until I
that's
get
very
fed up.
contract. Or like they turn up on the day and look, Big Sam's in the dugout. He's been taking the team for like training all week.
Oh
We've
my
got Big
word.
Sam now.
4 games to save the club.
Or it could be Brendan Rodgers. He's in the dugout now. We went
Yeah.
for him. Like he had a chat with us. And, yeah,
I mean, it's a crazy, crazy way of working. I, I mean, there's so much that could go wrong. You don't get the telegram. You know, it is a crazy, crazy setup. Nowadays, the first sign that your job's in trouble is the dreaded vote of confidence. So
votes of
maybe
confidence.
it's just the way it's flipped.
Yeah. Well, that's all we have time for this week. So until the next time, keep the faith and don't forget to subscribe to us on social media. We are back sometime next week with more TMTG goodness. Till the next time, until all are one.